Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of SEOs Getting Coffee, a laid back, friendly chat over a cup with your SEO mates. We'll share some SEO knowledge, swap experiences, and make the industry feel a little bit more human. No jargon, no corporate talk, just real conversations about the topics you care about. So grab yourself your favorite brew, get comfy, and join us. Today, we have a special guest, which is Sarah. Sarah, I'm super excited to have you here.
Welcome, Sarah.
Sarah is a freelance digital marketing consultant and a podcast producer. She is the pro, so we're getting lots of tips from her.
Yeah, we're going to learn a few things today.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. She has a long career, and in the podcast game, she launched a total of 4 podcasts and grew them, and has recently monetized her latest one, which is the amazing SEO Mindset podcast. Sarah, welcome. We're going to talk about a topic that is very, very, very current, which is redundancy. So we know quite a bit of people got made redundant recently, especially with AI and what's happening in the industry with all of the changes. And today we're talking to Sarah about how to deal with it and what to do next. Welcome, Sarah.
Very excited to be here, and I need to let you guys in on a secret. I've already drank all my coffee.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Look at
drinks
this.
now.
I have mine. Yeah, we need to remember to kind of show the cups. We'd had some interesting cups over here. So.
Is that a? It's not an alligator, is it?
Mm-hmm.
But
It's an
alligator.
SEO.
Oh,
It's an SEO.
See, what have we done here? We're sending subliminal messages here. Any conspiracy theorists watching will be thinking, yeah, these SEOs, they're definitely sending signals. They're all alligators. Well, welcome, Sarah.
Thank you very much. And yes, I'm very excited to be here. Really enjoy this podcast that you guys do, and I'm very excited to talk about a very important topic, which is being made redundant or being let go, because like you said, Emina, it's very current, it's very topical. And yeah, I think it kind of hit me towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year, the amount of posts that I was seeing, especially on like LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is my preferred social media platform. And yeah, it was just...
It's tough.
It's
really
tough.
Isn't it?
It is really tough. And it was the amount of posts I was seeing on LinkedIn with people being let go, being made redundant, maybe about AI, but other reasons as well. So yeah, when I sort of approached you guys to come on the podcast and you asked what topic, I was like, it's got to be this.
Yeah, exactly. And as you were saying, we all know it's really, really tough. How do you actually deal with the experience? So what's has it ever happened to you? What did you do if it did happen, or what would you suggest for people that are dealing with this at the moment, because it's super tough?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I have experience of being let go, and I'm happy to be open and honest about this because that's where the good conversations happen.
Yeah, me too. I had one as well while I was on maternity leave.
Oh gosh, I mean, that doesn't sound like a fun story. But when I got let go, it was earlier on in my career. And basically, to cut a long story short, I jumped up a level a bit too high, too quickly. So basically, I've been working in SEO and digital marketing since 2012. And what is funny is I said this to someone recently and they were like, oh, that's a long time. And I don't know how that made me feel. I was like, maybe, well, yes, it is over 10 years, I suppose. I have been in the game for a while. But yeah, so I was working in my first agency and I slowly worked my way up. And yeah, I think I was there for about 2 to 3 years. And then I think I was ready then to move on. And I believed that I was ready to take on a more managerial or a more head of marketing role. And I was still fairly young, both in age, but also in my career. And I basically learned the hard way that I wasn't quite ready. So I got this job, and it was a really cool job because the company, what they did was they sorted out trips and treks to places like Machu Picchu, Everest, all of that stuff. So it was a really cool job. And I was brought on as head of marketing. So I'd come from just focusing on SEO, and that was my area. And I was very strong and experienced in that. And I knew what I was doing. And I jumped over and took on all of marketing. And I basically made some mistakes, and the mistakes cost the business some money. And I do understand that in marketing, things work or they don't work, and you've got to test things. But yeah, I made some mistakes, and the company was really lovely. They sat down and they chatted to me about it, but they kind of said that it wasn't working. And obviously it was hard. It's hard being let go, and it's hard being in that situation. But I think I was lucky in a way that the company that I was working for, they were super lovely and super supportive about it. So I was let go in a nice and supportive way. Do you know what I mean? Rather than, So there's my experience.
Oh, no, I think we all have it. We all have it.
Yeah, and it's very, I think that's the thing, is that like it's really, it's great that you can share that story. And I think a part of it is like straight away, the thing, that I can kind of pinpoint is that you've got that kind of reflection, okay, on what happened, and to analyze the situation with like, okay, sit down, think about what happened in a kind of more like logical way and a more kind of like calm way, rather than, because when you obviously these things happen straight away, whether you get made redundant or whether you're let go or something like that, it's a very emotional kind of reaction straight away. Of course it is, right? And you've got to kind of maybe get through that first before you can kind of have a rational conversation.
Definitely.
Of, okay, what happened?
So I would say there was kind of like two processes that I had to go through. So like you identified, there is the emotion. So you've got to allow yourself to go through that emotion, because it's never nice being let go, or it's never nice trying something and not quite working. So you need to have time to sit down, process your emotions. And I had to, and it's hard because you then start to sort of attack yourself personally, but you've kind of got to change your mindset and just think more, okay, that role wasn't right for me at that time. So so obviously after I had some time to think about it, I knew that I jumped too high too quickly, and I just needed a bit more experience, and I was young in my career. So, and I sort of thought of it like everyone's had that bad relationship that they've been in that they know isn't right. And and when they get out of that, and I'm talking like a personal relationship, and hopefully, I mean, kudos to you if you've never had this situation, but I imagine quite a few people have in their previous life been in a relationship that's not quite fit, not quite worked out. And again, you have to deal with that situation. That comes to an end and you move on. So you've got to sit down and process your emotions. And then once you have sat down and dealt with your emotions, grieved, be sad, done your crying in the shower. I don't know why I went there, but they always do that in the films, don't they? But then you can reflect and reframe. So look back on your experience. What did you enjoy and were good at? What didn't you enjoy and what were you lacking? Because then that's when you can kind of start putting a plan together of, okay, I need to start looking for a new role. what does a new role kind of look like?
Yeah, I guess that's some really important points. I think because I guess like from that that kind of comparison and analogy to kind of like okay, when you say like in a relationship, a personal relationship with someone, and it's not quite right, and then actually as time goes by and you break up or whatever else, actually when you look back on it, a lot of the time there's a reason why they say, well, things happen for a reason, and things usually end up working out better, right? And it was like, oh, you're kind of glad that ended because all these opportunities came from it. And I think that's it, because that happened when, and going back to obviously the example that you shared with like being let go from a job, do you think because it was it happened when you're young, and other people now that might be getting redundant might be quite young in their careers, do you think that it takes time and experience to also understand that actually a lot of the time this is just another stepping stone in your career, right? It actually doesn't mean that it's like it's not as bad as it is, it's like because it always works out onto the next stepping stone. How could younger people start to kind of treat it more as an opportunity rather than like a setback?
Yeah, I'm a big believer. And again, it's easier said than done, but you've got to embrace the mistakes and you've got to embrace the failures. And I know failure is a bit of a hard word to say, but if you're not making mistakes, if you're not failing at things, then you're not being put outside of your comfort zone. So how can you grow? So you can obviously stay in your security of, okay, I know I'm really good at this. I want to stay here. I know how to do it. And an analogy of, I don't know, you're a big fish in a small pond. And if that's right for you at that time, and there is no judgment here, everyone's different, you stay there. But if you want to like grow and develop, you have to be that small fish in the big pond, and you have to take on experiences, you have to try things. And obviously there's things that you can do to make that experience safer for you. So looking back, I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and I probably wouldn't have gone from getting quite high up in SEO to then jumping into such a big role, being ahead of digital marketing so young in my career. Upon reflection, I probably wouldn't have done that, and I would have found different ways to dip my toe and experiment in different areas of digital marketing that wasn't such a big responsibility. But I also don't regret doing it because I did it and I learned from it. Yeah. So as long as you are learning from your mistakes, as long as you are learning from your failures, it's like, I don't know, you burn your hand because on a hot pan, yeah? You learn from your mistakes. You know that you're not going to touch that again because it was hot and it burned you. It's the same with your career. You've got to learn, you've got to try things because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because so one of the things that's interesting about your story is you've kind of recognized your mistakes in it and you've reflected on it. Now, sometimes redundancy or being let go happens without you doing anything wrong. So you've made no mistakes, you've done your job brilliantly, but circumstances have changed at the business. We've seen that a lot now with, traffic going down. Some businesses are panicking, letting people go without them doing anything wrong. How is it a bit different then? How do you then process? I presume you need to process the feelings. That always happens. But how can you then turn that into a positive and not get caught up in this kind of, oh, this is so unfair situation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any advice in those situations?
I mean, it is tricky because it's really, really hard in those situations where it is a redundancy and you've been really, really good at your job and you've done nothing wrong. And unfortunately, because of the company or finances in that company, they've had to let you go. And again, it's the same sort of process of you need to deal with your emotion and then reflect and reframe. but I think it's a little bit different because obviously you need to deal with your emotions and how you're feeling. And it's okay to think, this is so unfair. And why did this happen to me? Of course, you can't control that feeling and you have to go through that feeling, but try and not hold on to it. Try and let that feeling come in, address it, and then move on. Because if you hold that grudge, if you hold that, because that could spiral, couldn't it? That could be like, it's so unfair. Everything bad happens to me. Nothing works out. And I'm a big believer in, if you have, I mean, I don't know if this is getting a bit too deep now, but it's all about your mindset. Yeah. It's all about your mindset. So I definitely believe that one of the reasons why, so I'm in my mid 30s now, and I'm very happy with my career. I'm very established and I enjoy the work that I'm doing. And I feel a bit big headed saying this, and all of a sudden I'm like, but I've got a fairly good reputation as well. But obviously that has taken time to get there. And where was I going? I feel like I've derailed myself. What was the point before?
It was the mindset of
yes. So mindset. Thank you for bringing me back there, Emina. So, but I'm a big believer that one of the reasons that I'm here is because I've been on a journey. I've had these different experiences, but I've tried to have more of a positive mindset. Because if you're in a positive mindset, it's not that you can make luck happen, but if you're positive and you're putting yourself out there and you are trying to make things work, the more the stuff of that you're doing, something's going to happen, something positive's going to happen. So when you've been made redundant, yes, in your first week, couple of weeks, a month, sit with it, be really mad, be really angry, but please don't try and hold on to that, because if you hold on to that, then you're not going to put yourself forward. You're not going to see positive. You're not going to see other opportunities. Yeah. Like if you can switch your mindset, I feel like I'm a bit on my soapbox right now, but if you can switch your mindset, you can make positive things happen. You can change your things around. And also you've got to be aware is, unfortunately in life, there are always things that are going to be outside of your control. So there is nothing, like I can't say, if you do this one thing, you will never be made redundant, because that's just impossible. But you've got to work on your adaptability. You've got to work on, do you know what? Life will throw you curveballs, and it's hard. It is really hard. Me and Tash had loads of curve. I know this is not related to redundancy, but to the end of 2024, me and Tash, my partner or fiance, should I say, we had a few curveballs thrown at us at the end of 2024, and it was tricky. But what we've decided is in 2025, we're going to switch that around. Yes, we had a tough 2024, but there's things that we can do to make 2025 better. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a big believer in self-awareness, working on yourself. And that's where sort of like taking care of your well-being comes in. Well-being comes in place. So what makes you happy? Hobbies, eating well, exercise, nutrition, learning, courses, like taking care of yourself. Yes. Have that time to reflect, but then have a plan of how are you going to get yourself out of this funk? How are you going to go on and do bigger and better things? Because, yeah,
exactly. And that's it. It's about going through the emotions, no matter what the reason, whether it's you or whether it's external, and then making a plan. So what is next? Okay, I've reflected on it, letting go and moving on. Okay, let's talk a little bit about practical things that you can do in this period of moving on. What's your advice? Some people say, oh, you should just, put your goal, like goals are very important. Do you set goals? How long do you set them for? Is that something that people should be doing after redundancy, kind of sitting down, thinking about what they want to do?
So this all depends on how you are as a person. So For me, it's only recently where I have been more intentional in setting goals, because before that point, I was more just looking for opportunities, being aware, making connections, and saying yes to new things so I can experience them. Because in my head at the time, if I made too much of a structured plan, and an opportunity came my way and I looked at my plan and was like, nah, that's not going to fit, I would have said no. And that opportunity could have like gone on to amazing things. So that's why, but now I'm a bit different, because now my position has changed, because I feel like where my career is, I've been fortunate and lucky enough to have different experiences, being asked to do different things. So now where I am in my career is I need to be more intentional. So now it's not a case of saying yes to all these experiences so I know what I like. I've done that. So now I need to be like, okay, what is my plan? Where do I see myself in 5 years' time? Where do I want to grow my consultancy? Where do I want to grow the podcast, the SEO mindset? Where do I want to grow the recording studio that I have? So I'm in a different stage now. So I am a big fan of planning, and yeah, do it. But I would always recommend that when you do have a plan, give yourself some flexibility, because you don't want to be in that position that I just said, where an opportunity comes your way and you say no because, oh, it doesn't quite align. If Of course you should say that if that's how you're feeling, but if you're feeling bad that you can't say yes and you're like, oh, I really want to say yes to this but I can't, then you know that in your body that's something that you should do. So having a plan is always good. And other things that you can do is take the time to upskill. So take the time to do online courses. There's loads out there that are free. There's loads out there that you have to pay for. Some are more expensive than others. You could look at getting yourself a certification. You could look at attending workshops and conferences. Now, I know that there's always a cost, and if you're in being made redundant or you've been let go, finances might not be too great, but there's lots of conferences that give out sponsorship scholarship tickets. So the Women in Tech Fest, they were giving out scholarship tickets. Or Brighton SEO, there's always free tickets going for Brighton SEO, isn't it? So someone always has a free ticket to give away. So there's lots of ways that you can take that time to make a plan, upskill, and look after yourself. Going back to my earlier point, look after your well-being. Find a new hobby, whether that is hard paintballing. My brain has just gone. I don't know why, but as soon as I said find a new hobby,
I thought it was like crocheting or knitting or something, like something more relaxing. But
hiking.
Paintballing is great. I love paintballing.
My brain just went so like blank. I was like, why can't I think of a hobby? And then paintballing. I've done paintballing like once. Maybe that's a new hobby for me. Who knows?
There you go. No, I completely agree. And I think it's important, to process and then to keep yourself moving forward with whatever strategy fits for you, whether it's sitting down and doing the goals or whether it's being, more like, okay, right, I'm just going to go out there and see what's there and experience something new. So some really good advice.
But it's also catered to like what your interests are as well. Like if you did want like another, like if you wanted an in-house role, or if you wanted to, more of a agency role, and all of that obviously kind of impacts what direction you should go in. Like when we spoke to Gus and we were talking about public speaking, is that actually, well, Gus got off his own back and went to other networking groups within SEO to try and make contact in order to kind of think, oh, can I get a speaking slot somehow, or basically just a network. So depending on what kind of role you want, I guess, as well, is like how your goals will, there's no there's no kind of one set of rules of how you can do it. There's like, it depends on obviously so many different things to your, personal circumstance.
That's such a good point, and my brain has just thought of another thing. So once you have sort of got an understanding of what your next role looks like, try and find those people on LinkedIn and have a conversation with them and ask them, like, tell me about this role. What are the highs? What are the lows? Because most of the time, what I find in the SEO community, or especially the SEO community that I'm like exposed to, is everyone is helpful if they've got time. So yeah, that could be another thing that you could try out.
Yeah, just talking to somebody who's in the role that you want to have. Or what about talking? Kind of this idea of support is really important. When after redundancy, I know when I was made redundant, I was, I wanted the support of my family, but I also wanted the support of my industry and my friends and things like that. What do you think? Where are some of these spaces? We've talked about women in technical SEO, for example. Are there any other conferences? Are there any other kind of spaces that are a little bit more nurturing for somebody who's going through this? Should people be posting it on LinkedIn? This is the other thing. I mean, I love those posts, but I've spoken to somebody who was made redundant, and she was very reluctant to use LinkedIn to actually say, I've been made redundant. Do you know of a role? So what are your thoughts?
I completely understand, and I have empathy for someone who is hesitant to post on LinkedIn that they've been made redundant, because what I'm imagining is that person feels like they don't want to because, I don't know, will they be judged or will they get not nice comments? And I have empathy and I completely get that. But again, change that mindset, because all the posts that I've seen on LinkedIn where someone's been really open and really honest and they've said, I've been made redundant. I'm looking for a new role. These are my skills. This is sort of what I'm looking for. When you look at the engagement and posts, it's all positive. And most of the time, people are resharing with their audience, their people they're connected to, saying, really great opportunity to hire this person. You see lovely other comments and love on the post and stuff. So if you can, I do think I would recommend posting about it, because the more open and honest you are about it, then you're gonna get support from those
it comes back
in
to
the community.
authenticity as well, doesn't it? It's like, the authenticity is the hardest thing to do, because you have to be honest and you have to be like, you have to be truthful, and you have to kind of accept and kind of post through the positive stuff, but you also have to share the negative stuff, and you have to share the kind of downsides, or when and I think that's where like that authenticity kind of thing comes from, in as like a we spoke to Jack about that on this podcast, but in general with like authenticity is that it's like you're just putting yourself out there as warts and all type of thing. It's like, look, okay, the positive things as well as the mid-range and negative things as well. So when you're kind of like having a tough time, asking for help is actually something that you can do that actually will generate actually a good response from people, because actually most people are good people, right? And they want to help each other,
100%.
And actually we have a very good community of in digital marketing, that do like to help each other.
Definitely.
On that personal branding and like visibility and like job search tips, I guess, is like one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask today is like, obviously SEOs, like, I think we're aware because we're marketers, we're aware that like personal branding is a thing. Do people need to think about that in any way, and like, kind of like think about personal branding, but more on the sense of like, what kind of job search tips, like when somebody's looking for their next role, do they need to think, okay, how do they kind of go and get like a new job, basically? How do they put themselves out there? I know we're at that stage where we've just gone through, but like towards actually looking for the next role, the next job, there any kind of job search tips? I know you said get in touch with people and start looking at the community, but is that a route that you'd kind of suggest people go down?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways that you can go about the job search. And just a point on your personal branding, working on your personal branding is never going to hurt you. So if whenever you have time or resource and you have the capacity to work on your personal branding, do it. Invest in yourself, because that is only going to work well in the future. And personal branding can be anything from posting more on LinkedIn to being a speaker at a conference or being a guest on a podcast. Like, there's lots of ways that you can work on your personal branding that suits you. Like, if you're not quite ready to stand on the stage in front of people, that's fine. There's other ways that you can contribute. You could also like Moz, Search Engine Journal, these kind of places are always looking for contributors as well. So there's lots of ways that you can work on your personal branding that fits with you. When it comes to actually finding a job, there's different routes that you can go down. First things first, how I would tackle it is I would go through my connections on LinkedIn. And yeah, if it was an agency, if I wanted to explore agency, I'd look at who I'm connected to that works in agency and reach out to them, drop them a DM and say, I'm looking for an next role agency side. Can you give me some tips? Is there anything going? And you could do it that way. You can, jobs are always posted on LinkedIn. Jobs are always posted within communities as well. So me and Emina are both part of the Women in Technical SEO community on Slack, and there's jobs always being posted in there. There's recruitment agencies. So there is, with Frontier, is a specialist recruitment agency for digital marketing. So you could go down that route if that's what you're looking for. And then you can work with a recruiter and you can have a conversation, and then it's up to them to then go and find a role for you and then set up interviews and stuff like that. So yeah, there's lots of ways that you can get jobs. The one way that I've got a job in the past is by sliding into someone's DMs. Then I got a job. So my last role before going freelance, I worked for Captivate, which is a podcast hosting platform. And I always wanted to work for Captivate because I wanted to merge. That's a horrible thing for me to do, and I've done it. Merge. I wanted to merge my two passions of podcast and SEO. So I had a relationship with the person who owned Captivate. Like I met him. I met him at conferences. We were like chatting online. I met him in person a couple of times. And I was getting to a point where I was ready to move on for my last role. So I just slid into his DMs and said, I am looking for a role. Is there anything going? And the timing was right. And that's how I got that job. I also got another job by having a good relationship with someone in the industry who owned an agency, because this isn't the first time I've gone freelance. I went freelance earlier on in my career. I think I was like mid-20s. And I got to a point where I didn't want to do freelance anymore because I was finding it a bit lonely because it was just me. And I also felt lack of experience. I think I've got some internal trauma there about my experience. That's a couple of times that's come up now, isn't it? But there was someone that owned an agency that I was friends with, and I was just open and honest with him, and they were like, come and work for me. And so I did. So there's lots of ways that you can get jobs. Most of the times you just got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I love to kind of close up. I love that you used invest in yourself. That's just such a powerful way of talking about putting yourself out there, but also investing in yourself in terms of well-being, in terms of everything, building yourself up, which is really important after a redundancy, because it has such a massive impact on your confidence and on so many things. So I think, let's finish with invest in yourself. I think that's a really, really good way of thinking about it and changing that mindset to something more positive.
We should all be invested in ourselves, because we should all prioritize ourselves. And I know it's hard because we're told, you're good if you put other people's first and all of this stuff. But yeah, like, change your mindset and look after yourself, invest in yourself, go through the emotions. If you are feeling like you're lacking in something, do something about it. Go and do a course, go to a conference. You could also find people. So your earlier point, Emina, about like posting on LinkedIn, actually posting on LinkedIn that you've been made redundant, people might then reach out to you and be like, I've had the same experience. And then you can be like, great, let's jump on a call and have a rant about it. Let's cry together. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of ways that you could, but also it's not just about thinking about your skills and career. You've got to think about your well-being as well. So try and get your sleep, do exercise if you can, eat nutritious food, do stuff that you like, have a hobby, take up paintballing. I'm bringing it back again.
Thank you, Sarah. No, this was really useful. Some really good tips. And I absolutely love that you shared your personal story. I think that's really powerful. We like to end with something which is a banishment. So not particularly positive ending there, but we love our room 404 because it allows us to put something that has annoyed us into this room to be banished forever. So it is a positive. It's changing your mindset. It's not finishing off as a negative. It's let's banish what is annoying us. Sarah, what has annoyed you and what would you like to put in our room for?
I love this question and I'm ready. I'm ready to put something in room 4, and that is women being asked to do things for free for International Women's Day.
My God. Oh, that's one of my pet peeves as well. It is absolutely terrible, especially, let's celebrate you by you giving us stuff for free.
Yeah. So a couple of ways that I've seen this is where there's an event that is making shed loads of money, and then when you ask, okay, what's the speaker fee or what's the expenses, and they're like, no, we can't do that. That just blows my mind, because it's like, that's not the whole point of Women's Day, is to like give women a platform, sort out the gender pay gap, pay their worth. But that is not a thing. Stop doing that. And other things as well is women in companies expected to run events for the day. And obviously this is additional work that you're probably not going to be paid for because you have to do it outside of your work hours, because you're being paid to do the thing that you were hired for. And yeah, the whole thing of, instead of increasing pay or providing benefits for women, they'll sort of like companies will highlight female employees on social media as a celebration, won't they? Or
let's celebrate you for one day. For this one day, we're going to celebrate what you do, and we might allow you to go on stage to talk about it.
There you go. And you get offered, it's good exposure, it's good visibility. I'm like, great, I can pay my bills with visibility, bring it on. So yeah, there's my rant.
Thank you.
And it is my mug that I picked today. Is so this mug has lots of strong, independent powerhouses of women, and my favorite is the Spice Girls.
Oh, nice.
Who doesn't love the
Nice.
Spice Girls?
Nice.
So,
Well, thank you,
Fantastic.
Sarah.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been brilliant talking to you, and I love the fact that Sean was very quiet during our room 404 now. With
Well, it's your opportunity. Like you're the guest, and you two can.
and it's not even International Women's Day, and we
Not
get
just
the
yet.
opportunity.
Not just yet. No.
Thank you very much, Sean. No, I'm joking. Yeah, like I completely get you. Thank you so much for coming. It has been amazing having you here and talking to you. For anybody listening, please subscribe to our channel, follow the podcast, download it, listen to it, all the rest of the kind of promotional stuff that I'm supposed to do at the end of an episode.
And Sarah, where can people find you online? I know you mentioned LinkedIn. Is that the best place people can find you? Do you have anywhere else that they can get in contact with you?
yeah, so I'm very active on LinkedIn. I mean, social media is a bit of a scary place right now, but LinkedIn at the moment feels fairly safe. So yeah, just search Sarah McDowell on LinkedIn. You might need to put SEO or podcast because I don't know how popular Sarah McDowell is as a name. But yeah, I also have a website, so sarahmcdowell.co.uk. My podcasting side of my freelancing also has a website, lyrebirdstudios.co.uk, and I can't not promote the SEO Mindset podcast. So yeah, that's the podcast that I run with my good friend, and she is wonderful, very zen, and
she's the Zen. Tasman is the Zen queen.
She is the Zen queen and very knowledgeable and just a wonderful human being. But yeah, Tasman Sullivan. So I've derailed myself just putting Tasman Sullivan on the pedestal there. So go and check out the SEO Mindset podcast.
Please do. Well, thank you so much for coming.
You.
Yeah, please, anybody that wants to ask any questions or get some advice, or please just use this opportunity to do that. Like if you are currently going through some of the things that we discussed today, like please do leave a comment, and we can help point you in the right direction or even give you some support. So yes, thanks so much everyone for joining us today. Thanks so much to Sarah. Emina, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I mean I love chatting to you, Sarah. You know I always love chatting to you. So.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next time on another episode. As Emina said, please do like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time. See you later.
Bye.